Hey friends, welcome to an episode of the Fit Body Inside Look, and today I'm sitting down with a conversation with a dear friend of mine, a business colleague named Chris Segura, who oversees our territory mapping team on the onboarding and the operations team. He has nearly 15 years experience in real estate and just a wealth of knowledge who's added so much value to the onboarding process and our new franchise partner success, which is helping our new franchise partners open their gyms from day one with over 100 members. So without further ado, I want to welcome my man, Chris Segura, to the show. My man, Chris Segura, welcome to the show, dude.
What's up, Bryce? How you doing, man?
Super excited to get you on this awesome episode. I know I just gave you an introduction, but of the Fit Body Inside Look. And we're just here, having a conversation about your role, a little background about you, your backgrounds personally, professionally, and then really what you do and how you add value to our franchise partners. So to kick it off, just, from a personal perspective, can you tell us a little bit about you, your backstory from a personal lens?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm born and raised in California. I'm a first-generation Mexican-American, and if anybody here's first-generation, you know that comes with a lot of responsibility, no matter what your age is. Family is very, very important to me, so I've always been very family-oriented, and anything I can do to help my family out, I'm always there. I have a 12-year-old son that's absolutely my best friend in the entire world, and I try to live a life that he can be proud of every day.
Dude, man, and you're a great father, which I admire about you.
Thank you.
How's your Spanish, by the way?
It's good. Yeah. It can use some work sometimes, but I get around with it. So.
That's awesome. Well, I just share that because I admire, bilingual, and it's a useful language. So, all right, let's transition to your professional backstory. So even before you got started with Fit Body, which I'll ask you a few questions, actually a lot of questions around that, which is the topic of today. But what did you do prior from a professional lens?
Well, I have 11 plus years of onboarding experience. I started off in a very small optical laboratory with a very small team, and I made a name for myself in the optical world. I soon started working for the biggest laboratory in Southern California, advising doctors on sales packages and tactics to not only fit their clients' needs, but also make their practice profitable. I really had a passion for that, but I yearned for something more. I really wanted to incorporate my real estate background. I've been in real estate really my entire life, just took on the big responsibility in the past 5 years. I've been developing and managing several rental units. We started off with one back in 2010 and really grew it to 16 living units now. So
Really?
Yeah.
And it's not only you, but your family as well, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So you got optical experience, you got onboarding experience, operational experience, real estate experience. This is all what you've taken into, your operations role here for Fit Body.
That's right, exactly.
Heck yeah. All right, so, transitioning, what is your specific role, title, and then just high level, and I'll ask clarifying questions to unpack your specific responsibility, but, what sorts of things do you do, and how do you help our franchise partners?
Well, really, my official title is Onboarding and Territory, but my goal here is to make sure that our franchise partners have the best chance of success. And that really starts with finding a territory that's going to be fruitful. In my real estate background, I'm able to look around corners and make sure that we see things that maybe the franchise partner might not see as, a threat or even an opportunity when it comes to selecting real estate.
And I would say, not only from my ownership experience, but just, watching hundreds of locations that we've now launched, the territory mapping, finding a lease and securing a territory, it's probably the most important, but also challenging and nerve-wracking, part of the process. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're totally right about that. Finding a territory that's fruitful but also fits within the rest of our Fit Body family, making sure that there's no cannibalization between one another is really important to us. And it's always a challenge to make that fit like a puzzle, but I like a challenge, so it works out pretty well.
All right, now I want to walk our audience and new franchise partners just down the path so they have a better expectation. So they've worked with our franchise advisor team for a period of time, and then we vet them, make sure it's a win-win on both sides. And once that happens, then they're awarded territory, and then they get introduced to our onboarding operations team. So can you walk through with some granularity? You don't have to go too granular, but would love to just paint a picture of what their experience they can expect with you in terms of how long they work with you, the cadence of communication, and what type of things you guys communicate about.
First of all, we're in the relationship business, so developing that relationship is key. And we work together for the better part of a year, so we really start understanding each other on a deeper level. So there's always a lot of how are things going with the kids? How's your life going? A lot of fun stuff involved in that. But
So you get a chance to like really develop a personal relationship.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I still talk to the first person that I help open doors till this day. So that relationship is definitely there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But our calls basically are going to be catching up. Then we'll start talking about any updates that may be happening within either the facility itself or maybe developing the real estate. And then we'll start talking about next steps. I typically like to prioritize top 3 things so that it makes it a little bit more manageable for our franchise partners, so they don't have this big daunting list of tasks.
And do you prioritize the top 3 things that you need to be working on with them, with the franchise partner?
Absolutely, okay. Yeah. There are so many things on the back end that are happening while they're, picking out real estate, or maybe we're negotiating the best lease agreement, some stuff like that.
And then how often, how long do you typically, you said anywhere from 6 to 12 months. I mean, how long does the process take that they're under your guidance, if you will?
Well, I never really stop communicating with franchise partners. We always stay in touch, but our process usually takes 6 to 9 months. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer, but 6 to 9 months is our typical. After that, we'll hand them off to their cap coach, and then cap coach kind of takes the lead role or responsibility.
Kind of like a relay race, if you will.
Exactly, yeah.
During that, 6 to 9 month period, as an example, what's that cadence of communication? How often are you chatting with them? Is it a weekly basis, a bi-weekly basis, a monthly basis? And it probably changes on the phase they're in, but if you can just provide oversight, I think that'd be very helpful.
Yeah, we set up weekly calls, but things come up all the time. So we are typically in a text communication. So anytime something comes up, even on the weekends, I get text messages and we hash things out when they come up, whenever it's needed.
This question's kind of going back a little bit of the background, but it just popped up and I wanted to make sure to ask you, how do you think your background in terms of operations and real estate has helped you be in a position to help other franchise partners? And I share this with you, or I want to ask this question because our operations team and our onboarding team, just in the last probably year and a half, 18 months, I would say, has just went through an incredible overhaul. So me as the CEO of the business, I am so confident, in you and your colleague, Chris Barth, our operations and onboarding team in general, because let's face it, like first impressions are so important. And it's a lot of the biggest challenges when you open a business are like the upfront lift. So the fact that you and our team there for support are so beneficial. So I'm curious, maybe on how you were able to incorporate some of your previous experience and really that be a help and guide to our new franchise partners coming through.
Yeah, well, just remembering that the client is number one and changing their lives is number one, and that's what we're all here to do. And supporting our franchise partners so that they can better serve their clients is the tricky part. So I think that's where my background really comes into play. And then, like I had mentioned earlier, just looking around corners, especially during real estate, it's I'm sure you've heard this before, it's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
So making sure that they stay on that roller coaster and we get them through to the end and sign that lease and get them the perfect spot so they can change lives. It's very important to us.
Totally. And we just shot an episode with Barth, another edition of the Inside Look. And one of the things we talked about, which you just talked about, the emotional roller coaster. And I think the value of a guy like you, a strong team like we have, and also just the support of our brand is we're able to, with outside eyes, from an unemotional perspective, because we've been through the ringer over and over again,
absolutely,
be able to help, be that lighthouse or that guide, if you will, for a really challenging and emotionally ridden situation, experience, I would say, in the real estate game. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, 100%. And it's not just the real estate game. There's a lot of parts in this process that can be a little bit emotional. And us looking at it from an outside lens, we're able to make, decisions a little bit more logically than I would say our franchise partner might.
And that's just human nature, and that's just part of the process of, the value that we provide. All right, I want to unpack a little bit from your experience on what are some qualities or traits or characteristics of the most successful franchise partners that come through, and then the opposite is also true. What are some things that you really cringe at, or qualities or traits or behavior patterns, if you will, of some of the franchise partners that don't achieve their full success? And the reason I ask this is because I want to be able to showcase, what type of behavior to, execute, when our new franchise partners are coming in, and then what type of behavior to avoid.
Well, I'll start with the negative side of that. Typically, and I don't want to sound too critical here, but getting out of your way is going to be the most effective tool here.
Getting out of your own way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, franchise partners hyper focus on things that not are necessarily unimportant, but not as important in the moment. And if we're able to like help them pull back a little bit and get out of their way, like I had mentioned, it just goes a lot smoother. And then on the other side of that, the best quality is being coachable. And there's two parts to being coachable. It's not just listening and nodding your head. It's listening and applying.
Taking action.
Exactly.
And that's a great analogy because it's so interesting. We're in a business model being a franchisor, helping franchise business partners, but also our franchise business partners are in business for themselves and they have clients and they also, receive the best output and the best results when their clients are swimming towards their helicopter, when they're taking their coaching, not just, hearing his lip service, but actually listening and taking action.
Exactly.
So the same is true for us.
Yes, sir. That's exactly it.
Love that. On the flip side, what are some characteristics that when you see or hear a behavior pattern, you're like, oh, shoot, this person or this guy or this gal is going to be a really, really big success?
I think it's just being coachable, like I mentioned, applying that really, and trusting the process is going to be another big one. We have a great process for our franchise partners to go through, and sometimes their professional backgrounds, they might think that this is the best route, but our process is true and proven, and we've been through the ringer with it. And as long as you trust the process, you're going to do well.
A follow-up question on that, in kind of going through this process from the franchise partner perspective, but I want your lens just to be able to give some insight on the natural concerns and hesitancies. And our franchise partners are excited to be here, right? But they're also, have challenges and doubts. What would you say are some things that come up over and over again, concerns or questions that you can provide some, guidance on to get ahead of, and also to reassure the franchise partner that they're not the only person who's thought that or felt that. They're not going this alone. Would love your insight there.
Yeah, everybody's always concerned about their spot in the process, right? Are they going fast enough? Are they going too slow?
Comparatively to others.
Comparatively to others, exactly. Everybody's a little competitive, and that's totally fine.
That's human nature.
Exactly. But everybody has their own journey in this, and some might take a little longer, some might take a little less. But realistically, just trusting the process, like I mentioned, there is a lot of waiting when it comes to negotiating back and forth with real estate agents and brokers and landlords, and just understanding, hey, my time is coming, and I just got to be ready for that. That's all it is.
Totally. Love that. All right, my man, as we kind of wrap up, I have a last question that I want to, open up and allow you to be able to provide some wisdom. Before I do, is there anything that we missed that we didn't cover in terms of the process, the expectation, things to avoid, pitfalls to avoid, or things to gravitate to? I just want to give you, a moment, and maybe we've covered everything, but maybe we haven't. If we haven't, I want to be able to provide you the platform to speak some truth, speak some insight, and speak some guidance into, our new franchise partner coming through so they can be most successful.
Don't suffer in silence. Lean into your coaches, lean into the onboarding team. Oftentimes people just want to go at it alone, and you're not alone. We have a big family. We have a big group. We have a lot of resources at your disposal. And if you're going to jump on a call and say everything's going great, then there's not going to be much coaching on that.
Well, I think I framed that last question. I kind of led the witness because my last question was more of a parting words of wisdom, which I think you nailed. Is there anything else that...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and this is actually some coaching that I didn't get, but my good friend Max Phillips got from Bedros Koulian, our founder.
And before you jump into that, the reason I asked this question, this is so powerful because, I'm a franchise partner. I remember myself going through the ringer in 2012, and I was excited. I was like so passionate. I was like, hey, I want to change lives. I want to open a business. I want to help other people. But I was also nervous and scared and terrified. There was just like a million emotions coming through. So I love this question because it just allows you, someone with so much experience, so much success in onboarding and supporting new franchise partners, to give a little insight. So what would be that last parting piece of wisdom that you want to be able to and guide and impact our new franchise partner coming through this process?
Well, like I said, it's a quote from Bedros Koulian, and he says to Max, if you want to make $1 million, help 1 million people. And if that resonates with you, then FitBody's the right place.
Whew. Mic drop, my friend. Well, as we wrap this episode of The Inside Look, I just want to take a quick second to acknowledge you. Number one, how you show up on a day-to-day basis. The fact of you brought your previous experience and you've added so much value to this organization. First impressions are everything, and it's about how our franchise partners get started and supporting that process. And between you and your colleague Chris Barth and the entire operations team, I'm just so blown away. I'm so grateful. Just like I mentioned earlier, in the last 18 months, the amount of infrastructure and support we've added has been absolute game changing. And the crazy thing is, it only gets better by the month, and that has large part to do with you. So I want to acknowledge you for that. But I also want to acknowledge you just for the dude that you are, the guy that you are, the father you are. The way you show up is incredible, and there's no doubt in my mind you make our organization better. So before we wrap today, I just wanted to acknowledge and appreciate you for that.
Thank you very much, Bryce. Appreciate you, man.
Heck yeah. Likewise. Well, my friends, I know you got a ton of value in this episode. Hopefully this has given you the insights, the mindset, and some things to look out for in this process. And as I end my Fitness CO episode, I want to challenge you and inspire you the fact that no one is coming to save you, my friends. You must save yourself. The time is now. And lean on these guys for like a guy like Chris Segura for incredible support, and will guide you through the race. So that's all for now. Chris, thanks again, my brother.
Thank you, Bryce.
And we will see you in the next episode.